move to approve, if you hadn't got Gerald.
Alright, Gerald seconded, all agree, say aye.
Aye.
Dana, I think we're ready for you.
We got in some money, so we got $133,000. We're still kind of looking into the good side, bad side of doing the tax sale, letting Joseph Myers do it. I'm not sure if, you know, the few tax buyers that I've mentioned it to, they're like, well, you know, I think it's something maybe we need to give them a little more time to prepare for since it's computerized. They may want to have agents bid for them, or have other people that have more computer skills to bid for them, and so maybe, you know, we can announce at this tax sale that next year we're gonna go with the computerized version.
Why do you feel like not doing it this year?
Well, I feel like maybe we should, you know, it's just, you know, what, a couple weeks before the tax sale, not even 2 weeks, so I don't know if we give them enough notice to get qualified people to run their computers for them. You know, you've got to give it 10 days.
The other day you said you talked to them, they could.
They can. I'm talking about like
The
the buyers, actual William Broom. He was in yesterday, and he's like, oh, you know, because you've got to have people who are skilled with doing it computerized to do your bidding for you. So I'm not sure if it's too short of a notice. I mean, we can do it. It's just, you know, do you give them
What was the cost to get on that?
about $1,600?
Okay. I was gonna give you a copy of this. Gary gave it to me. It's the tax system isn't what other counties are using.
Okay.
I don't know if you had that or not.
I don't. And I talked to Robin off and on, and she was wanting to come down with Manatron at some point and
Your
kind of
presentation.
do their presentation also.
Okay.
The few counties that I have been talking to, if they're going with anybody, they're going with DevNet, because DevNet is a little even more advanced than Fight was.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked to Tammy Robinson the other day, and she said they just recently went to DevNet.
What
From
county?
Manatron.
What county was she?
Union. Remember,
And-
she was the assessor here.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we had, they're talking about that lifetime, you know, and everything. They can do that now. It's actually illegal to change the tax bill, from what I'm being told. I haven't physically read it with my own eyes, but what I'm being told is after the tax bill goes out in the collector book, it's illegal to change the name on the tax bill before or after the bill's sent out and after the book's printed until the next year. So the real time isn't going to affect a tax bill any earlier, you know, with DevNet or with Fight, what I'm understanding.
Right.
So
That's my
I
understanding
think
as
we'll
well.
get into a little bit of that when Manatron comes.
That's something I mean Josh or Patrick can look into for us, maybe.
Sure.
If you don't mind. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good one.
Josh, I think you're next.
Okay. I'm back again on these FEMA properties. This is the second of the three properties that we're acquiring through that FEMA grant program. This is a property that is owned by William Pegram. It's 6951 Unionville Road. And basically where we're at on this one, just like we did on the other one, we had to do a request for funds from FEMA. I have that prepared. That needs to be signed by Jeff, since you were the chairman at the time that the grant was started. But basically, it's the same format as the other one. We have the appraisal price minus the duplication of benefits amounts he's already been paid from flood insurance and from FEMA. And then he puts some money back into this property, and under the program you do get a reimbursement for the money you put back into the property. So he's got a little bit of money coming back there. Total of $37,036.50 would be the amount we are requesting from FEMA. We sent the other request on that first property, I don't know if you remember that, it's probably, 3 or 4 weeks ago, I guess. It looks like it's gonna be probably the end of February when we'll be getting that money. That, paperwork's gone to the title company to do the title search. And so that's moving forward, hasn't closed yet, but it's still moving forward at this point. So, basically, all I need is to get this request for funds, signed, and then also the acquisition agreement, we signed it, but I wanted to get the county board, or Gary has signed it as kind of the coordinator of this. I didn't want to get the county board to approve that, basically, to move that.
Do we need one motion or anything? What's our?
I think you can do one motion to approve the request for funds and approval of the acquisition agreement.
I make that motion. If, what do you think? All right, y'all agree, say aye.
Aye.
And a little bit more information on this, you guys were asking last time, what we can do with this property. Of course, once we get this, acquired, we have to tear down the structures on the property, and then and it has to stay as green space. Basically, there can't be any structures on it. Talking to Mr. Pegram, give you an idea of where these properties are located at. I don't know if y'all can see this. This is Unionville Road. This is the Pegram property here, the one we're talking about today. This is, these are the 2 parcels owned by Linda Jacobs, Linda Nicole here. Now, Mr. Pegram told me that I think a lumber camp may own this farmland here that's adjacent to these.
Is this a flood wall right here, by chance?
I don't know. I don't know.
I recognize that.
Is it?
Yeah, I know
Okay.
where you're at.
So, and he said that this lumber camp has talked to him before about farming this property. So that may be an option. I know we talked about that a little bit last time, about maybe we lease it or maybe we can sell it. Now, the stipulation will have to go with the deed that it has to remain farmland or green space.
They'll be good with that.
So, but to kind of answer that question, that is possible. He may be interested in using this property, so. But that's a little bit down the line just at this point, so.
You want my signature right there?
Yeah, right there, and Jason, I'll just get you like I said, Gary's already signed that, we'll just be kind of ratifying that agreement with the board, and I'll get that sent off, and when we get those funds, those will have to be separated into a different account, and we can.
A motion to, on this, or I thought we covered?
That's covered in, I think, the one motion that you made
Okay.
on both of those, so.
She don't need to attest to that or anything, or?
No, cause this just goes to FEMA requesting the funds. I can make you a copy of that, that's an original, if you wanna go.
There's no place for me to sign on
If you just wanna sign, I guess, below there where,
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me to.
yeah, that's their format, FEMA, so I didn't wanna change it too much, but. And just put,
Chairman.
your board chairman, something along that lines. And then we'll have one more property we'll have to do this on. It's a Leela Matthews property. She's in pretty poor health, so it's been a little bit difficult to get her up and get this finalized, but once we get that done, we'll get that third one to you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Joe. JD, you can come on up.
Sure. You were here before I was, you know.
Well, Joe,
Okay, he's got the,
you probably
okay.
need to stick around
Alright.
these folks. See what else is going on.
The big one can make Jason nervous.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, you carrying the guns, making me nervous.
Relax. The low rider.
We got roughly 30 in the jail right now.
Not too many, not too few, huh?
You know.
Any of those are pain customers?
I don't know, the majority of them, I think right now, we got several from Johnson,
You got some long-term people in there looking for pain.
have had.
Well, the state's gonna be paying, right? How often do they pay you? Do they pay you pretty
You
regular?
probably have to ask John that question, cause I can't keep up with,
Who's where?
yeah.
We need information on that K-9, I guess, vehicle, just for the middle, next month.
We're getting some, equipment in, equipment's trickling in for it, so that's good to have it here,
Ready?
waiting on the vehicle to get here instead of the other way around.
And,
We're still going forward though, man, I mean, it's still gonna happen.
how about that, other equipment that's going into the facility to scan and stuff, is it? In here yet?
No, it's not here yet. We've got a spot for it, and John was working the other day on, I think they were doing some painting back there and getting it, cleaning the area it's gonna go in, getting it kinda spruced up a little bit for where it's gonna go. There shouldn't be any problems with getting that hooked up, wired in, where everything's gotta go, cause I believe those, that live scan, and I think I mentioned this last time, once you do that, I think that feeds directly to either Springfield or Joliet, I can't be, it goes into a database, big database. But that'd be nice.
It's pretty expensive, I mean, we're getting it given to us, but I feel what
Yes.
the cost was.
Has John got him a special wing for the ladies in the hotel over there? He got several women locked up in it.
Yeah, there are some cells that are more or less designated female inmates, so, and I think they're occupied.
That's what I was gonna
I
say.
don't know if it's full on female, but, yeah, there's several over there.
These women bad news, ain't they? No comment.
Not gonna get into that.
Come on.
That's a good question.
Stick your foot in your mouth.
Well, all the cars, everything's good, no issues or nothing?
Now, we're in pretty good shape right at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you, David.
Thanks, fellas.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
See you.
Joe?
Kept it all warm for you, brother.
Thank
you.
Thank you. How you doing?
Pretty good, how are you?
How's the bridge going?
Good. It's nearly done, it'll probably be done tomorrow, or Friday, or, this weekend. I think I gotta get back out there today after I'm done here, but they're getting really close to being done.
Everything went as planned, I guess?
Yeah, just little subtle changes, nothing really out of the ordinary.
We discussed that other bridge today, Gerald, on the radio show. Isn't that right? The one that you're looking at for next spring?
The Lover Camp Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big power structure road with it.
Yeah. How's that coming out? And that was one that we just kinda had to get on, right?
yeah, we just signed the engineering contract on it last meeting, so, I doubt anything's even been started on it yet, so. Try to
Joe, you said, I think you said several times, next spring. Now, did you mean this spring that you may be able to get that design done and built, or next?
No, it usually takes more than 6 months for an engineer to get the design done and get all the
It'll be
approvals.
about a year or so.
Yeah, I'm thinking it'd be, beginning of the winter to end of the winter, to be able to get into a contract, depending on weather, this side's when they start.
Yeah.
So I'm not,
Yeah, it'll be
worst case scenario, I'm thinking next spring would be
Yeah.
the starting time on it.
Okay.
How about the equipment? Have you got that back yet, or when's that?
Haven't got it back yet, I don't really know what, the estimated time of arrival is on it, but it should be getting really close to being done. I mean, they had the undercarriage done, and we're working on the bearing, the main bearing on that turntable.
Yeah.
Last I knew, so, they should be getting really close to being done and getting it back to us.
Weren't they gonna go ahead and put a bucket on that, so we're,
Yeah, they're gonna,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna put it on, I mean, they'll ship it with it, I
Okay.
guess, bring it back with it. Of course, we're gonna probably, when we get the bucket, before we use it, we're probably gonna beef it up with a little bit of extra steel so that
Yeah.
we can have it, strong and in good shape before we even start using it, so it
That's right.
doesn't tear
Yeah.
up really. Cause majority of what we use it for is for tree and brush clearing. That's a lot of stress on it.
Yeah.
The one we got, I don't really know how old it is, I'm thinking it's probably 20 years old, or
didn't
15,
it come,
20.
didn't it come with it?
Well, it's a 2000 machine, so,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it came with it or if we bought it just right after it, but,
I
guess
can't
it's-
remember either.
and I'm not sure if it's used, I don't know if we bought it used.
Yeah, maybe been used when you got it.
Could've been.
How's everything else, equipment-wise, everything pretty good? No issues?
Other than pickup trucks, and I was gonna talk about that this morning, you
Okay.
wanna do them first, or you
No,
wanna talk about pickups?
We can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wanting to possibly buy a pickup truck this year. I've sent out a request for bids for a pickup truck, but I'm not gonna have results back for another week and a half or so. So whenever I get those results, I'll come back to you with my recommendation and a request to maybe purchase one if the prices are right or whatever. But the reason is just the condition of the trucks that we've got. We just have a limited number of trucks that we use to, I guess, get around the county to places where we work. And several of them are basically, one of them, the transmission is completely out of it and is just sitting in our yard. And I'm really not 100% sure if it's worth fixing it or not, because it's a 1991 GMC that has 220,000 miles on it. I doubt the truck is even worth $1,000, but it's gonna cost over $2,000 to put a new transmission in it. I'm gonna have to decide on that, but we've got another truck that's basically, it's just about dead. We've had to pull it back to our shop about 3 times in the last month because it just keeps on dying and not running. It's got over 300,000 miles on it. And, you know, the front end's pretty much shot on it. The transmission's pretty much shot on it. The dash doesn't even work on it, so. And then, you know, a couple of the other trucks that we have, you know, we've got a 96 GMC that's our mechanic's truck that we're gonna have to do some work on to be able to get it to where it's safe, I guess. We're still using it. It's got 261,000 miles.
What's wrong with it? Is it not being safe?
Front end, it needs tie rods and it needs a front end put in it because it shakes really, really bad when we drive around. We got an 88 GMC that's got 158,000 miles on it. It's still a decent truck. We've got a 91 Chevrolet that's got 159,000 on it. It's still a decent truck. And then we've got David's truck, the one that he's driving right now with 130 plus miles on it. It's still a good truck. But
What year is
what
that?
it's a 2008. So what I'm trying, you know, if everything works out right with this bid, I mean, I was going to get another truck that David can have to drive around and put his down into our fleet to where we can use it with everyone else on an everyday basis.
So you currently got 5 work trucks plus Dave's makes 6.
Really 4 plus the mechanic's truck.
Okay. How many do you need? I mean, if we got rid of some of the ones that are really just sitting there in the yard, I mean,
Well, it's different every day as to what we need and what we don't need, just depending on what we're doing. I mean, I know last week, we were struggling to get people to where they needed to be. I mean, we had to do a lot of dropping off and picking up and all that kind of stuff because, you know, we were doing a lot of brush cutting last week and, you know, we tend to a lot of times leave our machine, you know, the tractor and leave the track hoe and stuff out on our job sites, so, you know, we need a truck to transport the workers out there and then come back, so we just have a difficult time with all that. I can't really give you a number. I mean, we could live with whatever we can have. I'm just saying we could really use one.
if you did away with the 91, the 220,000 miles, which you said just doesn't work, and the one with 300,000.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that would
replace-
leave us one short.
Yeah.
Basically, if we replaced it with one and got rid of those 2, it would leave us one short, and I don't, you know, we'll just have to see how it goes, you know, see if that can work for us, or.
Guys, do you want him to get some estimates just to see what it is, what the price is?
Some bids?
Yeah.
Yeah, might as well.
Okay. All right.
Doesn't cost much to get a bid.
No, doesn't cost anything.
How is there certain things that you're asking for on the bid, or is it just a basic work truck, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, basically the state of Illinois has a state contract for a basic truck, like for IDOT, that you would put out, that you could buy those on the state contract. And we could use that state contract contract and buy it. I got a hold of the dealer that we would have to buy it from though. They're in Taylorville, Illinois, which is up around Springfield. It's not a problem, but the downside to that is that you have to order those trucks because they don't have those on the lot. I mean, they order them based on what options you want, and the guy up there told me it would be 6 months before we could get a truck. So I just constructed a specification sheet on the base truck plus a few options that we consider that we need, and that's what I'm putting out for bid.
Any of the local dealers maybe have 14s held over, it's a work truck that maybe they want to get rid of. I mean, that's kind of how we got that sheriff's car recently from Linwood's and Paducah.
I think that's how we ended up with the pickup he's driving, wasn't it, a holdover?
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking for a bid on a new truck, whether it's a 14 or a 15 or a 16, you know, we'll decide that.
Hopefully somebody come up with something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a good buy that
Right,
way.
you know, and I'm, so far, I mean, I've got bid documents to Linwood and to Farmer Chevrolet and to Paducah Ford and to Harvard Ford.
Okay.
Just, we have it advertised in the paper, if anyone else wants to bid, we'll give them a sheet, a bid.
Sounds good.
So, but again, it's be a couple weeks before I have anything back, so we'll talk about it whenever I get it out.
Y'all got anything else?
No, I haven't heard from anybody or.
No.
Joel person did contact about a ditch that's not draining. And that's on Country Club Road. I think they've had trouble with this ditch before, but this is the end of it, so it shouldn't. Right there at Mount Mission, the old Mount Mission School. You know where it was?
Where Mount Mission Road crosses?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know where the school
Across
is.
the country club, the school sits there it's set there on top of the hill.
Okay.
And going up that hill east, C&W has that place there,
Okay.
an impoundment yard and all, that drive right there. And after about 75 feet, it'll take off downhill, so, he said it's back up to that culvert there.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be a very big job, really.
Okay.
It's kind of work they're doing some of this time of year, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Got a few that we're gonna be doing here in the next week.
Guess that's it, if you wanna stay and listen to what Chad and Tina
Okay.
say. Hey, how are y'all?
Good.
Good. You're welcome to come up here, or if you wanna sit back where you're at, or whatever's best for you.
Most of the information.
Chad is the man.
Well, I requested residential Joshua Drive, but we got to put Chad on some planner, but whatever works, or gets the
Wear
most
your other
done.
hat.
Yeah, whatever. Just a follow-up real quick on that enterprise zone thing. We got our application turned in, there were 67 applicants for 49 spots, so
That could've been worse, though.
could have been worse. So we'll see what happens. We should hear something around June. We're back here today, or we're here today, to discuss the Joshua Drive road. That's the part that's not maintained. It's in the back of the Grace Estate subdivision. Nathan Harold, Tina Wellness, we're all residents back there. I kind of been a conduit of information when they ask questions, where we're at, what we're doing. And I think my feeling is I wanted to get everybody in front of everybody, because I talk to, Gerald on an individual basis, and sometimes Joe and sometimes Jeff on, and it's kind of like I wanted to get everybody together so we could talk about it, try to figure out either what can be corrected or where we can go, and try to get an understanding. So they requested kind of requested this, and I'm trying to help facilitate it along, so. I guess where we're at is we're trying to figure out, you know, what can be done, or what needs to be done, or where we need to go, or if this road was in front of your house, what would you do? What would you do next? And I feel like after talking with Joe doesn't have the authority to even accept the road or officially deny the road, because the plat itself doesn't have a signature on it from the county board. And
The last time we was in, I think that was our
I think,
plan, wasn't it?
I
To
think
at least,
it was an impromptu conversation, right, with Patrick in here, that we were gonna try to figure out how to get the plat approved. And I guess I had never really heard anything back, and didn't know what we needed to do, or if there was any
Has
thoughts.
Patrick got a copy of that, or do you know, was that who was looking at it? I remember him.
I don't know if
being
he's
here
got a
that day.
copy of it. There's a recorded version of it with no signatures in the clerk's office. And he may have taken a look at that. So I didn't know if there was any thoughts on where we go next with this. Is this,
So we had talked about getting the homeowners to sign off, or was it on the?
I think we were waiting for the lawyers to try to come up with what does this plat need to say on it.
Okay.
You know, it's a little bit outside of, definitely my expertise on that. I don't know.
I spoke to Patrick last week because I knew you all was on the agenda, and I asked if he could, come to the meeting. He thought it'd be best is if we would just listen to what you all had to say, and then if it's, hopefully it's possible that one of us commissioners and you all can meet with Patrick up in his office, and we can lay everything out, and he can go over it then. He wasn't able to meet with us today. He had court, some things going on, so.
We felt that because it's no longer under sole ownership of the developer, that there would probably have to be signatures from
I think that's why.
interested parties, landowners, and possibly mortgage holders, possibly. And that's the thing, is we don't really know where it stops at. Because it might be just enough to get a statement, and on that statement, get our signatures, and then have that notarized, whatever's done to it, finalized, notarized, however that works, and then have that attached with the plat and submitted, and then at that time, maybe get it signed off on. Now, you also bring in the question, is it going to be required that the city of Metropolis signs off on the plat first? Because the city, the location of this subdivision, it's contiguous to the city of Metropolis, and according to the Plat Act, that, it's expected to be at least reviewed and accepted by the city. If it's not, does that mean that the county, it stops there, or can the county still sign off on it? I mean, it's still a county property, it's still a road that was, to my knowledge, built with the intentions of being the county specifications years ago. So, once again, it just because the city says it doesn't meet our development guidelines or plat guidelines.
Does that mean that we can't?
Does that, I mean, to me, does that mean, later on down the road, if we were to annex into the city, we would have to make concessions with the city, I would think, to say that, no, we don't have a 50-foot right-of-way width. We would have to maybe get deed dedications from property owners that say, we'll give you 5 feet on either side of our property line. Are those things that we can we go straight to the county and get the county board to sign the plat, and then proceed to get the yes or no on the road, and then proceed, because right now I think there's just no way of just getting the road fixed without having the plat done first, I think. It's way under what you felt about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you went out there and tried to fix the road now without the plat being.
You couldn't
we
accept a
couldn't accept it
dedication,
anyway,
right?
And you might be doing the same thing you've done in the past,
Right.
spent money on the road and still not get it accepted. So
So-
that's the only safe way, is to get the plat straightened out first
Okay.
before you do any more work on the road.
So,
What I'm doing is I'm taking notes, and we'll give it to Patrick. He's gonna get all this information looked up. Is there any day next week, or when your schedule would work, if it has to be the evening, that one of the commissioners, Joe and Patrick, and whoever wants to attend from your subdivision can meet?
I'm pretty good anytime, so. Any-
Monday evening wouldn't work, but that's a holiday anyway, so any other evening next week I should be fine.
Evening time?
Well, when y'all say evening, like past 4:30 or 5, or 7 o'clock at night, or what's good for you?
5:30, 6 in that timeframe would be fine.
Anytime after 4 o'clock for me, pretty much.
Is there a certain evening that's not good for you, Joe?
I would have to look, but I
Okay.
can't think of anything right
Okay, I
now.
didn't know if Wednesday nights is bad for you or not.
It is if we go later.
Yeah.
If we go like 4:30 to 5,
Yeah.
no, it's not a problem.
Would 5 o'clock be too soon for everyone if I check with Patrick? Tina with 5?
It's tax season, so
Oh,
I'll
yeah,
just,
yeah.
I'll just come and go back, so.
Okay. How about I check with Patrick today, and
Okay.
if I can't, maybe Gerald or whoever wants to attend.
Yeah,
And we'll maybe shoot for, Wednesday,
next Wednesday about
maybe
5.
5,
Sure.
because with, with all of my kids or something, seems like every night, except Wednesday.
How's the best way to get ahold of y'all?
How about if we call,
Want us to,
how about if we call Chad,
Yeah,
and get
Chad.
Chad and let everyone else know?
I can do that.
I'll work.
Okay, and I'm sure Patrick's got your number, I know Jeff does.
Yeah.
Joe,
So,
alright,
you guys got any
questions?
questions? Anything you want
I
to?
mean, I understand the situation, I just don't see how on earth it got to this, is my main complaint, that it's taken.
Excuse me. Nita, the ES&S gentleman wanted to know if he could speak to you a moment.
I mean, this has been going on since the early nineties, this crap, I mean, and talk about us spending money, I mean, we've had people in our neighborhood, that's why none of the people, all the people here are new, because people that lived out there got burnt by the county, dumping thousands of dollars when they were promised it would get taken in, and then they did the work, paid the bill, and it didn't. So that's why Benson's aren't here, Henleys aren't here, I mean,
Why?
they don't have a lot of confidence that they're not gonna get burnt again by this board.
I wasn't on the board then, do you know Gerald what happened, or what
Uh,
the situation was?
I think that Glasgow and, some of the residents had words.
I mean, that's a,
Well, I mean, that's,
pardon a piss poor reason to
yeah,
not,
I mean, we have to be adults here and get
Yes.
past the
Would you have a better reason?
personality
a
conflict.
legitimate reason, yeah, I mean, that's not a legitimate reason to
know,
not,
I'm not for sure, I mean, what you're saying is the roads were, I guess, brought up, and then,
Yes,
but did the developer, or did the people work together and say, Larry Glasgow was supposed to take it over at the time? I'm not for sure, I mean, I wasn't here, so.
what we were told wasn't that he came, someone came out and met with the contractor and said, yes, it meets it, and then someone
Okay.
from the county came out and said it met the specs, and then.
The story I heard was that midstream, not at the beginning of all of this, but midstream, a group out there decided to get together and hire a contractor to work with Glasgow to bring the road, make repairs to the road, to bring it up to a standard that he would then accept. We all wrote checks. I remember writing a check myself for our property at about $750. So 8 or 9 of us all wrote, give or take about that much. Contractor come out there, performed the work, and it was my understanding that, you know, there was some coordination with Superintendent Glasgow at that time as to, does this look good? Is this going okay? And that we weren't going to let the contractor leave until
everybody was satisfied.
everybody was satisfied. And then the contractor was allowed to leave, and it still came up short. Now,
I can see where they could, that is bad.
so
See where they could use it.
there was some upset.
so that's why it's gonna be hard to go to Benson, this way we need another,
Yeah, was there
1,000
anything in writing at the time, you think?
That
I don't know.
I don't remember, you know, but I'm
You
sure 30 years ago, you know, things might have been done a little differently. So I don't know. I don't know. I know that we tried about probably about 2 years ago, we inquired I think when Mr. Glasgow was still in charge, we had inquired about what we could have done, and we were instructed to get 2 coats of oil and chip and get some work done on the road, and we got some bids on that. And on that bid spec sheet, it said, you know, we'll work and coordinate with the highway department to guarantee conformity. That to me is about as good as what I've seen, I guess. So that's if we get to that point to where we get the plat signed, everything going, and we present a dedication, and Joe can then say, well, here's what we need to have done. You know, if we end up paying money to a contractor to work,
That needs to be in writing, and
Yeah, we really
100%
want
sure,
something
yeah.
that says, boy, they're gonna either do it, cause,
Right.
'cause we would wanna, definitely if we fall short again, now, we'll need to get our money back somehow.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
understand.
so.
Yeah, I mean,
Is there
it's
only
a-
one empty lot back there?
the
Two.
one- Well,
Empty ones?
the one
There's one next
between
to
you
us.
guys, next to the
Yeah.
pond, I think
That's
that's,
it.
Is that the one that Todd Reams owns?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess you own everything on the other side of the pond, is that right? Yeah.
The reason I was asking that, Joe, what do you think about it? I mean, if, hopefully at some point we get this resolved and can accept the road. What's your thoughts on putting a weight limit out there? I don't wanna see it torn up, with a 11-yard concrete truck going back down through there to pour a foundation.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you would
I don't know how
prevent that. I mean, yeah, you could put a weight limit on there, but
they're gonna drive past the sign.
Well,
I can guarantee it'll be ignored. I
I
mean,
mean, school
trash
buses and
trucks,
trash trucks, it would be the,
Yeah, that'll be, okay.
Yeah,
which the school bus is a whole nother issue, cause it goes right between the water with 4-foot potholes. That blows thing, that blows out a tire, that bus is going into a pond, and I wouldn't want that on any,
No, you don't, but, yeah, that would be bad. And that
So, I
bus
mean-
comes down the road every day.
this isn't a healthcare legislation, it's fixing a half-mile stretch of road, this shouldn't have taken 20-30 years to get done, I mean. Shelton moved out of Massac County because of this, basically, he moved to
And
Fiduciary.
you know what, if I could sell that house, I would too, but I can't sell the house because time somebody comes down that road, they're like, what is wrong with your road?
Oh, I'm embarrassed to have a birthday party for our kids because of that. I mean, I'm worried that people are gonna blow out their tire.
Yeah, I mean, it's seriously gonna
I mean,
cause some damage.
if anybody wants to drive out there this afternoon, I'll be home. I've got pictures of the roads that everybody can
And,
have.
I mean, Nathan's out there every other weekend putting
I mean,
concrete
I've
in
put
it.
I know.
hundreds of dollars worth of concrete in.
I've actually ran into Nathan Close one time.
with all due respect, you're talking like this is our problem.
It is
It's
your
our
problem.
fault. It's not our road. It's your road.
Because your office mishandled it, is why it's not your road. Because your predecessor. I won't
That's
get
what
started.
that's a he said, she said thing,
Yeah.
okay? I mean, I don't have anything in writing on any of this.
Of course not, that's not how this,
Well, you know, I'll tell you what, your attitude coming in here is not very good.
It's just been a very.
I know it's
long
frustrating,
process.
but good grief,
We-
we're all new people here that I just got this
No.
job a year and a half ago.
We've been told a lot of things that aren't true, and that's a big part of our problem. We've been told by people in this room a lot of stories that they're getting it handled, and it hasn't happened. So, I'm of the belief, if you tell somebody you're gonna do something, let's do it, let's try it, and then you call that person back and say, I can't get anything done, I'm not gonna keep hanging you on, I can't get it done.
I understand that fully, and I can understand
if
you're
you would've
frustrated, but
done
there's
it-
nobody in this room, I mean, I don't
Yes.
know, there may be somebody in this
There
room.
are,
I'm,
let me just say there are.
I haven't told anybody that I would do anything
No,
and
and
not
we're not
follow
saying
through.
that, it's not you, this is just so frustrating to have a home that I pay $4,800 worth of property tax on, and you're liable to blow a tire coming down my road. $4,800, and I don't have a decent road. So,
I understand that.
I mean, it's not your fault,
We-
you're new to this, yes, and you can't do anything about it, but these gentlemen at this table can, and that's what we're here to say. We are frustrated because ever since I've lived there, over 3 years, I've been trying to get this done. I talked to Glasgow, get it done, well, you're gonna have to pay for it again. No, we shouldn't have to pay for it again. It's been paid for at least once, we know for sure, but we think twice. And Mr. Benson would know that because but is Mr. Benson gonna pay for this again? No, you're looking at the 3 people who would have to pay that. Because those people who have lived there forever say, no, you burned me twice, you're not gonna give me a third time, I'm not gonna pay for that road again.
Where is the Benson house at?
Right across the street from us.
you know where Dr. Shelton used to live?
Talking Greek to me.
Okay,
Well, where Chad lives, there's
right.
the pond, that Dr. Shelton's is the yellow house, and
Benson's is right across.
Vincent's
Very
is straight
next
across.
door.
Now, the people that are in the house besides Benson, they're fairly new. But,
Of course, them it doesn't really affect, cause
No,
the
it's-
road's maintained right up until they're, so
Yeah, the Henleys, it's not gonna.
That's the
they're not
problem
gonna
is-
care.
burden falls on the back end. Cause the front end doesn't care, cause they don't have to drive over the bad parts, cause it's good right up until, 15 feet to their driveway.
Does it start where the Hambies live? Is that where it starts? Or it's
I think
kinda-
it starts right where the Henleys live. They
Henleys.
stopped
What?
maintaining it on that corner where you stop.
It comes in and it turns right,
Yes,
none of that's maintained,
Oh,
then
so
we
it stops where the Becks live.
think so.
Okay.
Tony Beck.
Yeah.
Tim.
Tim back, yeah, right there at that,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, we have 845 feet basically from Airport Road. It comes right to before you hit the very first curve. It's just a straightaway. That's all it is.
Was that the first plat? Is that how this got separated or not?
I think there's one plat, but it was built in two sections. And with that first part, and I guess, the way developers did it back in the day was, you gotta make money to build, so they built that first section. The road was accepted, maintained, and then the second section got built. And then the road was not accepted, not maintained, or whatever happened, the plat wasn't approved, road wasn't.
When Ricky, when he developed that, I mean, his plans were the city was supposed to take it over, is that right?
I'd heard a story that annexation was the intention, and
That's
that
when Lee
Rick,
Sharvey was live.
and Rick bought all the taps, made all the connections, did everything, and then annexation fell through. It didn't, either the agreement wasn't honored, I'd heard there was a conversation that Rick had with the mayor at that time, and it didn't take place. Lee Sharvey, who's essentially was my position of city planner, zoning administrator, city planner, took the plat before the planning commission, I guess wouldn't sign off on the plat because the plat didn't meet the city's land development code, which is the 1967 second code they adopted right after the zoning code, which defines sidewalks, curb, gutter, right-of-way widths, things like that. It didn't meet that. Why it wasn't built that way, why it wasn't communicated that way, why any of that took place, why the road was built 20 feet wide, or with 40-foot wide right-of-ways and 20-foot surface and not 50-foot, I don't know. I know that there's a 6-inch strip of land back there that's supposed to have created a buffer that would have kept this subdivision from falling under those city guidelines. I've spoken with city attorney, and I think the agreement, the optimistic agreement, is that the city wants to grow and take in these subdivisions, Joshua Drive, Paradise Lane, even say Christian Cove, if we wanted to grow, we agree that we would have to make certain concessions or provide variations or variances to plating guidelines and rules, because there's not a lot of oversight on this, obviously. There's a plat over there that's been recorded, deeds have been sold, utilities have been put in place, people are getting billed and taxed, and probably it never should have happened to begin with. It should have been just told, I'm sorry, but it wasn't done that way back then. Like I said, a local developer doing the best they can do, to try to make big lots for good houses. You do the best you can do.
I mean, the whole thing comes, like you said, it's not you're in a similar situation as us, you're, the person that built our subdivision, everything wasn't handled correctly, and your predecessor, so, I mean, nobody in this room really had a direct, it's been going on for so long that.
Yeah, I guess the thing is that there are subdivisions and roads in this town that are privately maintained, and they're either recorded that way or they're never dedicated, and that's fine. Ours was never intended to be that way. Ours was always intended to be built correctly and dedicated and maintained, and I guess that's what we're trying to say, that whatever happened, but it was never intended to be this way.
There's a letter on the plat that said from Rick Gray saying
it was supposed to be built to a certain standard, and it was supposed to be accepted. Nobody ever tried to sneak one by or not build it to a certain level and say, go ahead and take it anyway and just do me a favor.
Didn't, at one time, Todd Reams, when he had some lots back there, dedicate some of it over to at the cul-de-sac or something?
we've got ours,
Didn't he have to give so much up, I thought? I'd heard
ours,
before.
well, we're right across from him, which is, she lives in
Right.
Todd's house now. It says all lot 11 except the east 6 inches, which would be right up against, on our Richard Kruger's.
That was the
Yeah.
buffer. That may have been what, may have been. And Todd may have granted like some property there around the ditch, or the pipe, between the ponds to give it a little bit more of a width. I don't know.
I thought at one time, to try to help the road get accepted, that was something that was told to me. I don't know if it-
Maybe. I know up front the church did. There was an issue up front where the church gave 5 feet. I think that actually when that road got platted or put in, the church ended up giving 5 feet on the north side of that road.
Who owns the ponds?
Yeah.
You own both,
Well,
or
she owns
that side?
one side, and then we own half of it, and Tim and Patty Estes on the other half, who live in Dr. Shelton's old
Todd
house.
would own a small part.
Todd,
You know.
yeah, Todd technically does, because his lot's on the other side. It's actually one pond with just a
Yeah.
drainage thing between them.
Is that, near and dear to anybody's heart?
The pond?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I don't want it to go away completely, but, I mean,
I mean, what'd you have in mind, I guess, would be,
What I have in mind, common sense tells me that if you got water on both sides of the road, you're gonna have a crap road. Cause I've been out in the real world enough to know that water and dirt make mud.
right. Oh, and yeah,
It's
it's-
tough to drive through mud. Even with tar and chip on the top of it,
Right.
it's gonna be pumpy. Am I wrong? I mean, I don't see any way that you're gonna have a base over the top of soup. That's just my opinion.
I don't know. I mean, we have private sewage, septic
Mhm.
sewage out there, so I don't know if there's a need for both or
Is it a lagoon or a
No,
pond?
ours doesn't drain into it.
yours doesn't drain into it.
I
Okay.
don't think that.
I figured they had leach fields, I don't know.
Yeah, no, ours doesn't.
I thought
I don't,
ours
I'm pretty,
drained.
I'm pretty sure Tim and
You
Patty,
got yours fixed where it does not.
yeah, I don't think any of them do. I think it's just water with fish in it.
I was just curious.
Is that the worst spot that goes over that water area?
That and the back end of the cul-de-sac is bad too.
Why it's so bad back there, you think? So is that where the buses and all the?
A lot of
cars turn
turnaround
around?
traffic,
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
just
you know,
breaking it
the
down.
garbage trucks, they have to like,
Jockey ring.
we got, school buses, UPS, I mean, you know, that gets the most probably abuse. 'Cause I know when you were there, Reams, but you know, the bus would go through the yard and tear up.
Joe, have you drove down that road in a while?
It's been a while.
Be careful.
Be careful. Don't take a car you like.
Well, the plat needs to be fixed regardless of
Right.
what happens,
And-
or that's my opinion. So are we gonna shoot for next Wednesday and
Yeah, let's do that, and, I'll get these questions to Patrick, he'll probably call you,
That's fine.
just to make sure he knows what all you all want to be answered. And then we can try to, we'll shoot for Wednesday at 5:00.
To my knowledge, the only discrepancy on the plat is the 6-inch that was deeded off. That everything on the plat itself, other than that, is accurate as far as lots and things of that nature. That, as far as what's recorded, what doesn't show up on the plat is that 6-inch strip. It shows the lots as being
Would it be
called.
more helpful to get rid of the 6 inches, or does it help or hurt?
You
I mean,
probably
whatever.
have-
that may be a Rick Abel question too, though, cause
Well, if we don't get rid of the 6 inches, then it would have to be replatted. And then to show that, I would
So
think.
the plat doesn't
Right,
show the 6.
yeah.
The our
it
current
was
plat does not.
pre-6 inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if we could get rid,
Whoever.
deed the 6 inches back and make those lots whole again, this is just uneducated
Okay.
planning. Yeah, so if we could get them to deed that back, now the plat reflects a more accurate resemblance of what's recorded. And it might be a little more of a direct path to getting, you know, because I don't think we'd be able to just get Rick to sign off and say, yeah, I've got a 6-inch strip back there, I have a dedicated interest, but where's it at on the plat? We may have to get a surveyor involved. And like I said, if we can avoid that, avoid the
Yeah.
cost, then that would be,
I'm not 100% why that 6 inches was there in the first place, cause I looked at the log, I mean, it's something we need to write down and ask Patrick, because
Right.
it was put there to create
as
a,
far as I'm concerned, the city's rules apply a mile and a half out. And 6 inches don't matter at all to me, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
that's been a discussion, you know, that says, yeah, because it's within a mile and a half. you know,
Whatever the ETJ is, or is it always just gonna be a mile and a half
no,
because of roads?
that's in their
Is that
land,
state
that's in
statute?
their land development ordinance, the cities, and Patrick and I did look at that when we were looking at a revision to our zoning ordinance, and I'm pretty sure we were on the same page talking about that if it's in their zoning ordinance, it says 1.5 miles, then we need to abide by that. So it's gonna be 1.5 miles because it's in the city's
Right.
ordinance.
6 inches or not.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
Regardless.
if it's easier to sign it away, I'm sure she owns other
So
six,
every subdivision within 1.5 miles would have to have the city's approval, so to speak.
You don't own your 6, do you?
No, I think.
No, I
I
meant,
think
Yeah.
the
we've
six,
already-
the
Yeah.
6 butts up, I meant 6
Yeah.
butts up against hers.
Yeah,
so.
we've already did it.
Yeah, there had been some advice given back in the day that if you could buffer it, your subdivision with that
you're
6-inch
separated.
strip, then
Yeah.
you don't have to follow city rules.
But
But,
that's just kinda, you know.
Same old story.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
So,
I
yeah,
guess if you think of other questions, why,
Yeah, get a hold of Patrick, I mean, he'll be able to,
you have Patrick's cell, don't you?
no, I do not.
Oh.
I do not.
yeah,
But next Wednesday at
5 PM.
5 PM, wanna meet up here?
We'll meet upstairs in his office,
His
we'll
office.
go to the right to that, library. He
Okay.
has a big table on there, we can try to get everything knocked out.
Well, I'll bring, I know he won't, I'll bring the city, land subdivision ordinance. I know that's may not eventually be his final say-so because of, you know,
Which Joe's been working on, updated, we've been working on a new subdivision. rules right now.
Well, Patrick has, I've been just trying to help him out with the road part.
Trying to prevent this stuff from ever happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what, we've been working on it, this spring,
And to be blunt, it's still going on.
yeah.
It's tough, it is, it's, you know, it'd be nice if there was 100 of us, you know, that could be everywhere and all of them, but when there's one of us and, you know, and two, you know, just a couple of people, it's tough to be a lot of places at once, and it's hard to do it.
If you all have any questions, just filter them through Chad, and Chad can call Patrick and get them to him, you know, and that way we'll try to get them all answered for you Wednesday. Hopefully have some, you know, defining things for y'all to do.
Sure. That'll help, but like I said, if he can come up with, and if he's got stuff he can address and say it needs to go here first, then I'll get Rick and we'll go to the planning commission, we'll get something written up at the city level, and we'll go from there too.
All right.
I mean,
Thank you.
that- Sure, sure, that, I mean, that should be pretty straightforward, I would hope, so. I hope.
Yeah, I think we all hope that.
All right.
Thank you all for coming in.
Thank
Thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Nathan.
Yep.
So about 11,000.
11,000?
Or, I guess, mobile homes, maybe mobile homes.
We don't charge separately for mobile homes. Some people do, we don't, we feel it's just part of what you do for day-to-day operations, so. But do you sell mobile homes at tax sale? You do? We have a mobile home redemption system as well, that's separate from real estate, but it's included in all the pricing. Do you use CAMA here, Gary?
No.
No? Are you interested in CAMA?
Yes.
What is CAM?
Computer assisted mass appraisal. So there will be a sketch of the parcel attached. You can scan and attach any document you need to the parcel itself.
It's part of where this is going with technology and being, requiring us to have that information available to the public online. It's not there yet.
Do you have a current website that you,
Bruce Harris hosts,
your GIS
yeah,
website?
GIS, and we have some data tied into that, but not sufficient to what we really need.
We work quite well with Bruce Harris. We're a business partner with Bruce Harris, so we've been involved in GIS integration for quite some time. We found that they're really excellent to work with, so. I'm sorry, your parcel was about 10.5, you said?
10-2.
10.2. And where are you in the process right now with your board of review?
We're getting ready to publish.
For board of review? And you're currently with Thomson Reuters? When does your contract with them expire?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure on
I'm
that
not sure
either.
either.
Isn't it a year to year?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, cause you just
We've
have to
had-
give them a 90-day notice to terminate, that's,
Yeah.
we've done a lot of Thompson Reuters conversions in the last year. Okay. Are you a P-TEL county?
Yes.
Really? Welcome to the land of tax caps.
It's a stranglehold on things, doesn't it?
It does, and, there's gonna be a lot of change in assessment or exemption practices this session of the General Assembly, so we, as a company, had to create some exports for the Department of Revenue on exemptions throughout the state, so they're looking at it quite closely and what it could do. So, the reason I ask about internet access, we have a wedge tool, it's called Wedge. It's, one of our programmers was real creative when he came up with that name. But the name of our product suite is called the Edge Suite of Products, so Wedge is WWW Edge. I thought it could be a little better than that, but they didn't think so. Am I in your way at all here?
No.
Can everyone see?
Yeah.
Dane, you wanna flip that light on?
I have to do one more thing, well, that's okay.
Oh, can
I
you
can
see?
see, I can see there's light in here.
Come in.
Yes, she's over here.
Well played.
The set returns in property code sequence, but if I wanna reorder it to name, I just hit the name tab and it reorders it alphabetically. And the address that appears here is typically the tax bill mailing address. If I wanna see site address information, I just hit the site address tab and reorder it. And I like doing this because it exposes how many parcels don't have a real site address attached. So do you have site addresses attached to all your parcels?
No.
That's something that GIS will help you do. Create an address node at the parcel level for
We've
your
got-
polygons.
We've got, like, if you don't type it in exactly like it is, and you're searching it, you can't find it. So sometimes when they entered it, they maybe put drive, maybe put DR,
Yeah.
and that's that could be
Well, we've gotten around that because we, have the ability to, so I can see the parcel here, I'll show you how that name search or the address search works. I can get a brief detail of the parcel I'm looking at without having to open up the full parcel just by hitting the detail tab. And it really is just a brief detail, it gives basic parcel information, what township tax code and class that it's in, the assessment levels as you are now, and basic exemption information.
Can you search by just road and street?
Sure. In fact, I'll reset it and I'll do a site address search, so, I wanna search by main, and that's all that I know. It'll give me every main in the county, and then if I wanna narrow it down, I can do it by main within city or village also, so. I didn't have to have a wild card search, I can just put the name of the street in. Or, I can even do something more simple, I can just put in 610 if I know the number, and it's just gonna give me everything that's got 610 in it. So we've made the search real flexible by having, call in and just have basic information for you, so you can do the searches that way. If I'm convinced that the parcel that I looked at is this Colleen Vitale, I can double click it, and it'll open up the full parcel information. As you see the notes here, we have an extensive notes section for both clerk, collector, and assessor. The clerk more at the taxing district level, but the treasurer and assessor at the parcel level. So you can enter notes into the system
Can I stop you question? Are we separated by anything to get real-time data, or will we?
Oh, no,
get
it's
it?
live. If I make a change now, if I make a name change on the system, it's available immediately throughout the
Okay.
system. The only thing is with the internet data, we like to have it at least 24 hours stale. It's a security issue. That way you're not having anybody access your data live. It just makes it easier. It's a lot less of a security risk, although in some of the bigger jurisdictions, they want us to refresh that every 3 hours. I don't know if it'd be necessary here, but it's having,
Was that gonna change that in like his, will it break him away from me, or
not at all. It's a shared database.
is it lawful to change a name after a tax bill and a collector
Sure.
book has been printed?
Sure. We've created name records that if the assessor is using a name well, in this case, it'd be 2015. If that name record has been changed, we've given the treasurer the ability to use the most current name available in the system, so it cuts down on return tax bills to erroneous addresses.
Well, that would be great, but I was informed that it was, unlawful, to.
The way Illinois has kind of loosened the rules up on name changes. It used to be you had to come in and show some type of interest in the parcel. Now you can change a name pretty easily. They're allowing for USPS, the United States Postal name changes to be, which was never allowed before.
So you're saying we're in shared data, like
It's a single database.
a single database, but it's shared, but they can't, so when I make a change, even though they can't make a change into my system,
No, they cannot.
okay, they would have to have a passcode or whatever.
Yeah, it's a full suite of
Okay.
security
And the
tools.
fact that we're both working on 2 different years.
Doesn't matter at
Doesn't-
all. In fact,
Will I be able to go to the next year after
Absolutely.
and that's important too?
Sure.
It just rolls the system a year ahead.
That would save a lot on it.
Everything that we're searching now is based on current assessment year. You see there aren't any tax rates available because in this county, the 2013 assessments weren't completed. There's a reason I use this one because I pulled off some tax bill.
Why some of the letters in blue and red? Is it?
Oh, here, it's
No.
gross acreage, it's just farmland indication.
Okay.
And over here on the left, if there's information in the green, it means that there's data in that tab. If it's red, it means that there's nothing there. In an inquiry, you can't change the data. It's view data only. There's nothing you can do. Anybody at your public, do you have public terminals at your counters? No one can change anything in inquiry. If you can, I'll give you $500. I've tried, and I'm a DevNet user, so my login overrides everybody else's, and I can't change it. So we've made that pretty secure. So the assessment information, and this is available to the public, and it would be also through the web, defaults to the current assessment level, so you can see the red box. In this case, it's at the board review level, and the last date change was this. We keep track of all data changes in the system by last change date login. So if there's ever a problem, we can tell you who was in and when and what they changed. So we operate on a SQL database, so that's how we're able to make that level of inquiry into who made the changes. Do you have drainage here, drainage districts? Okay, so this is the drainage debasement at the parcel level, and it's also part of the drainage, Plano drainage district. So we identify the drainage district that's attached to the parcel.
When was the last time we discussed that, Jeff? Not to mess with that.
Yeah, they handle their own billing, so we just let them handle it.
Oh, they do good, but it doesn't cost anything here because we attach it at the parcel, but that's okay. All of your drainage districts do their own billing?
Correct.
Okay. Makes conversion a lot easier, I'll tell you that. So how do you get the 5-year drainage collection for the drainage debasement at the parcel level one?
I haven't been here 5 years, so I can't tell you.
Okay,
I haven't gotten one yet.
that would answer that. exemptions, we give a full history of the exemption. The first year that was in the data, we would get it from your data here, so we show a full history of who received the exemption the first year that it qualified and any renewing. One of the things when we roll from one assessment year to the next, we'll send you a list of the exemptions you wanna roll and automatically renew, as opposed to sending out renewal notices for all of those, exemption types, and you get to choose which ones you want. Legal description, it's a brief legal, we have several forms of free form, platted and unplatted tracts. Lot acres, if there are any. And this is just notes that it's an irregular lot size. Names, we have a pretty unique way of doing names, we have a shared name database, so if the name is in the data, you don't have to create a new name record for your parcel, so it cuts down on all the duplicate names that you'd have in the system. So if you're adding a new name or attaching a new name, if it's in the data, you don't have to create the new name. And if everything is exact, name and address, you can just make the change then. And along with the ownership records, whether or not it's deeded to the parcel, the document number, the deed type, and mailing flags. You can have as many names attached to a parcel as you need for both assessment and tax billing. So we control that by, in this case, Colleen is the owner and she's getting all of the notices. If I could create a separate name record and have them just get delinquent notices or assessment notices. So you can split up the names and have each of the name designation get its own type of notice if you want.
How would you split up the names?
I'd create a new name record and instead of a relationship, call it an interested party. Right now, it's the owner is listed here. So the relationship could be an attorney or
Trustee.
a trust that's getting other information. So you'd have multiple name records. And we can show it all here, what the status is and what the relationship is to the parcel. Brief characteristics in this county, they're using a permitting system. So they have a permitting and property characteristics data. If there were delinquent information, both the forfeiture tab and the redemption tab would be available. And it's entirely up to the clerk on whether or not you display forfeiture or redemption data in inquiry. It's entirely up to you. We can turn on or off any of those tabs. And we can rearrange the tabs for workflow because they don't have to be in that sequence. The only one that has to remain the same is overview, but we can remove all the other ones around. And if you're using a dual monitor, do you use dual monitors in your office?
I got 3 different computers I spin around and look at.
So if you're using a dual monitor, you can actually detach the tab and move it to another screen and just work in that tab. So you don't have to be in and out. So you can just detach the tab and do the work that way. Sales data, we give a full history of the data that we have and any sales that are added as it relates to the parcel. Its type, the prior year value, sales ratio. So it's all part of the sales and creating the sales record itself. This one does have a valid site address. The site address standards that we've always used are in conformity with the 911 and E911 addressing standards. So it's the way our addresses have always been built. I'm gonna change the year and go back to 12. So all I have to do is just change the year and it stayed on the tab that I was on. Then I'm gonna view the tax bill. Do you charge an additional amount to reprint the bills? Okay, because we can turn off the print tax bill feature too. And we do that for counties that have a fee that they charge for a duplicate bill. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, it says tax bill 1 of 1. If there was a correction on this tax bill, it would show 1 of 2. And the most current bill as corrected would be on display, but the original bill would be behind it as well. So you can see a history of any change made to the bill as a result of C&Es. Tax payments, show just a brief history of the payment for this year, when it was paid, what batch it was in, so you can track payment history as well. I get a summary Bless you.
Thank you.
Don't stifle us.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
I know, Fike had mentioned, which I mean, Dana might not be interested, you could do like a monthly payment.
Oh, yeah, we developed a monthly payment plan for Madison County. So we've had a monthly payment plan built into the system for the last 8 years.
Not saying they were interested, I was just curious.
Are you interested in a payment
Well,
plan?
we talked about it after the Pike and Pike
Oh,
thing,
did you?
and, yeah, I mean,
It might be an option.
what makes it difficult, I guess, if a system is set up to collect it month by month, then that would be fine. Our current system is not, so that would make it a disaster.
Yeah, one thing about the monthly payment plan, we can actually do a direct debit for that, from either a checking or a savings account, if they're on a monthly payment plan. We also accumulate those amounts and apply them to the current year bill when we're generating bills. So that the bill that goes out is just the amount due as a result of any payments. And
So if their bill was normally $1,200 and they paid $900, the bill would be $300.
right, right, or any adjustment, but that's the concept, right? And we keep trying, you have the option to send coupons, email notifications, so, Steve Desenbrug up in, Effingham is using it too. He used to have his own off of the system, and we incorporated it in, so. We have a theory that if you're operating on a spreadsheet somewhere, it's probably in the system and you don't need to do spreadsheets. But yeah, we've had a monthly payment plan for a long time. And in Madison County, it gets even more complicated because they have 4 installments. So it's a monthly payment plan for which installment. So it's parts of an installment, and it got to be real hard to track, but.
Because most counties have 2 installments, that's what we have.
There are 2 counties in the state that have 4 installments, one's Rock Island and one is Madison County.
Everyone else has 2.
Everyone else has 2. Rock Island was the first, and it came in the early 80s, when unemployment statewide was running so high, so that is what allowed them to qualify. And then in Madison's case, it was an administrative decision by the treasurer and the county board. It's really a delayed payment, a delayed interest calculation, not a strict 4 installment like, Rock Island is. Rock Island is structured a little differently, but everyone else is 2 installments, but because of that ability in Madison, all of our clients have the ability to do 4 installments. It's a change, when we make a change like that, even though in this case it was custom programming, they paid for it, but it's available throughout the system, and that's just how we do business, so we don't charge anyone for what someone else has developed.
We actually have more employees ask about the payment plan and, deduction from their checks, so.
Oh, really?
Our new computer system can do that.
Oh.
Oh, thank you.
If we ever
Someday.
get it set up.
Someday,
What is it, an accounts payable system?
yeah.
No,
all-
it's
Be payroll.
all
CIC.
financial.
CIC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just brought it online about a year ago, and it's still got some bugs
Developments.
that we're trying to work out, but we've made some strides lately.
Who's your recorder,
Right here.
software?
Cot systems.
Cot, okay. Oh, back on the collection information, I can see a summary of the amount collected, and the detail is the amount distributed to all the taxing districts, and what date, what portion of the installment went to each of the taxing districts. And then historical, so the historical collection is based obviously on the data that we have, and in this case, you can see in 2006 it was a vacant lot, and the tax bills went way up, and now you can see that they're going back down. Kendall County during the mid-2000s was the 3rd fastest growing county in the country. And when the real estate problems hit, they collapsed. So a lot of developers went belly up. Is the full tax rates here?
You might be getting to it, but like the assessments that are sent out to people,
Yes.
that's where I think our system lacks now. It's the clarity and understanding, like, when you get it in the mail, most people look at it like, man. But
We can,
how does yours set up?
we set up the notices the way you want them. We don't restrict any format of any notices.
So,
We have 63 different
counties, we have 63 different tax bill formats.
So we could have it set up so it would have the
You
current
set it up
assessment, the
exactly the way
exemptions,
you want
last
it.
year's tax rate.
Yeah.
Here's an estimate of your tax bill.
We don't have,
What does
any-
most people do? I mean, I know you said there was, but what's the majority? I mean, we feel like if we're, I don't know how you wanna say it, be as upfront with them and saying what we, an estimate what it should be.
I
That
can
way-
deal with issues.
That way, if it's a problem, if they see that number and it's, let's say it went from $1,800 to $2,100, and this actual number they see, we feel like at that point, they could get a hold of Gary and go in front of board of review if they don't agree with it, where a lot of times people's getting a letter, and it's a percentage, it just shows like a percentage.
percentage increase.
Yeah, and they just, they
We could
toss it, and then once
we-
they get their tax bills, when they get really upset.
We don't
like
have
to
a
try
res-
to
yeah, we don't
fix
have a
that.
restriction on how you send out your notices. I'll just tell you that, we just don't. Um, Here's the exemption notices, there are several formats. You tell us how you want your exemption notice to be. With board review, same thing, any kind of notification that you wanna set out, we'll set up the form the way you want it to. We don't have a restriction that we place on the
Could you
client.
show us how their form is?
Yes.
Let me see if I've got a notice. Oh, good. I don't know where it is in their data.
Bless you.
Well, thank you.
I don't have a copy of their notice here.
Do you have any examples of any other counties?
In the assessor books,
Okay.
in the report books, there's tons of samples of notices. I just don't have a sample of their form layout, cause I have to load the form layout, I just don't have it. Let's see if I've got one on my desktop.
I mean, some assessors don't, may not want that, but personally, I want that taxpayer to know before they get the tax bill of a potential problem.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, we don't have a problem with any kind of notice format at all.
Well, most people will be more apt if they see this may, cause a $500 change in your tax bill. They're gonna be on the phone real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Where they don't understand our current one, what it means in dollar value.
Yeah, like I said, we don't have a problem with however you wanna.
But your system can calculate, I mean, is it a form, it has to be their program to
Yeah,
calculate.
it
it.
will calculate
I mean,
everything.
calculates it, puts it
And
in there.
does it also compare like last year's
If
exemption
you want
versus
prior
this
year
year?
and current year.
Yeah.
We do put a little disclaimer on there about exemptions because they calculate at different times in the system. You have to deal with the pre-equalization exemptions, and those are the ones that come up prior to the state multipliers and the ones afterwards, so some of those could be an estimated amount. Especially the one that's tied to 77 base value of the property. I don't have a sample of their document. I have an overlap notice to Cumberland County for clerks. Well, that's a printed notice, so. But all notices that are required by the statute for any of the offices are already in the system. And same with any abstracts that you have to produce, all the 255 TA for the treasurer, the 250 series abstract for the clerk are embedded within the system.
How much problems or feedback do you get from your system from assessors on getting their abstracts approved? Do they struggle to at all?
No,
Or do you
because
guys-
we have a very good working relationship with revenue.
Okay.
The only issue we've ever had, and it's with the brain drain from revenue when they had a lot of people leave, was with reclass, because there was a new person that just didn't get it.
Right.
And there aren't any real rules for how you report reclass to revenue. Revenue doesn't have any. So we had one person looking at an abstract from one county, accept it, and the person right next to him rejected it, was the same abstract, the same set of numbers, the same criteria. So we've worked that out, but
Well,
With
that's-
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, that's why, after our meeting with Fike and Fike, when, I asked Robin, does our system do this, does our system do that? She's not aware of you having any, she says that when she speaks with you, everything is
Well, we had
well
quite
and
a,
fine, and then I'm
we
like, well,
had-
he's in this meeting today saying,
we've had quite a, I mean, if you wanna talk to my staff and.
well, I mean,
so
that's
now
why,
you're not
I'm
taking
just
my word
going
for it.
by what Robin tells
But
me.
I'm saying
She
we
can't
had
fix
to-
something if she doesn't
Well,
know
we had
there
to
is
go
a
back,
problem.
what happened was, we had to go back through every single change, Dana, that we made in the system, and it was over 2,500, 3,000 changes
Well, that's
because
what
of
I'm asking if Robin is aware of.
because of how, yeah, she was aware of it, because she tried to help me get this figured out, what was causing the report to not generate it correctly, that the revenue would accept it, so yeah, she most certainly was aware.
Manatron is also, coming with their thing, so that's
Sure.
something we need to address with them,
And-
'cause
and-
like I said,
I
Robin
agree.
is in total.
And Robin has been great.
Well,
I
sure.
mean, I have no complaints on Robin. It's the system that I have a problem
Well,
with.
that's what I'm-
And it's nothing that Robin can do, but like I said, it's like I've said before, if I can't get an abstract done, nobody else needs to worry about anything, because the department don't approve it. We're not gonna move the tax cycle along.
One of the things that, here are the list of abstracts just for the clerk. So these are already here, so if revenue makes a change to the form, we get pre-notification. So they work with us in advance, because we have a lot of counties, so we work with them, so we pretty much know when you guys know that there's been a change to the form and what it's gonna require for reporting, so we change
When
it
you
in
get
the
those
system.
changes and those notices, I mean, do you get with the county clerk and kinda do a little learning session with them to make sure that they understand it?
Yeah, it depends on what it is. I mean, for abstracting, it's just a report, but anything that's required change from legislation, and it requires a change in the operation, we do on-site training, unlimited on-site training, so if you need to be here, but for personnel changes, you get new people, and you want them trained, we come down and do the training. And like I said, we don't charge extra for that, so it's just part of doing business with DevNet.
CIC was that one.
Yeah, me too.
What'd you say?
I wish CIC was that.
They're like the never
Yeah,
ending.
that's one thing that sets
invoice.
us apart, we don't charge, like I said, if you get a contract from us, the amount that you see in that contract is the amount that's there forever, unless, I don't know what you do for hardware here, but we also sell hardware too. But we don't change our pricing midstream just because the legislature made some changes or whatever.
Or you normally have like a 3 or 5 year contract?
We prefer a 5, but we'll do 3, it's entirely up to you. And here are all the notices within the assessor system, or all the reports, so. And notices and the abstract reports are all here, including the reclass. You can reprint a historic abstract if it was generated in the system, so. All of the equalization reports and the 260 and 280 abstracts are embedded within the system.
Do you, convert we talked about this before, was it the information from Manatron, do y'all take into your system? Have y'all did that before?
Oh, yeah, several times.
And they're good about letting you do that if you took over another county?
Yeah, actually, we will show you how to extract your own data. DevNet's theory is that it's your data, we don't own the data. And we're not gonna, if for some reason you ever decided to leave DevNet, we're not gonna make it difficult for you to leave. But I'll bring a hard drive down and show you how to extract your data.
On your customer services, I think it was Fike and Fike that was available from 7 AM to 4 PM or something like
You
that.
see this? Everybody in field support has one. You can call us any time of the day.
Well, I know, I get calls and
You're in the
texts.
public, you get them all the time. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Robin's good about working on the weekends with him.
Yeah,
and
if you let
I'll
us
get
know-
text at 11 o'clock, your stuff's done, run in
Yeah,
the
if you
morning,
need
let
us
me know.
on a weekend, we'd like at least 24 hours notice, so one of us could be in the office, or let somebody in the office be available too. Yeah, we don't have.
I didn't know, so there's not a set, or do you have a set hour for your,
Oh,
or is it?
office hours are 8 to 5.
So your
But we're open at
customers.
7 for the Pennsylvania people, so we have somebody there at 7.
Okay, so you have, and I'm sure Manatron probably has a set hour, I'm just not aware of it because, you know, with Robin, it's,
Because you just deal with that one person, you
And-
just call her.
well, a
And
few,
you email,
know,
if
a
you
few
email
different
help
people.
desk, there are 8 of us that are attached to the help desk email, so we get to see your emails, we also get to see when the office responds. We guarantee, a response in less than 2 hours, we put it in the contract, that's how much we believe in our support.
Well, with the change in our other system, it kinda makes us wanna make sure
Be a little
customers
gun shy,
support,
yeah.
yes,
Well,
exactly.
And that's one of the hallmarks of our company is support and service, so.
But anyone that calls us too, whoever does the calling back is going to be able to fix the problem. They know nothing about
Oh,
the system.
absolutely, that's why
Because
they're on
that's
the
what
help desk.
we're finding with this other company. They'll have someone call, I can't help you with that, I've gotta turn over to this person. And like last week, I had 3 different people before it finally
I
got
think they're
fixed.
in a bigger hurry to satisfy their timing
Yes.
than
Get
the
you off the clock.
issue, to get,
Well, we don't have clocks.
Yeah.
And we have new people too, so, you know, somebody may not understand your question, but they will always get back with you. And then, like I said, the beauty of it is if they respond in email, I get to see it too. And so does Aaron and Brandon. And I used to be the company vice president, so if I see it and I notice that there's a delay in the response, you'll get a response.
I'm wondering, through some of the other counties that I've talked to, I don't know a whole lot about Gary's part of the, but they say that your company has like an appraisal system or
Yeah, that's
something.
CAMA.
That maybe, okay, that none of the other companies offer, so.
Yeah, and that is true. We're the only company that offers a fully integrated CAMA system. So, and CAMA is part of that same database. It's just sketch and cost manual that runs behind the scenes, so. And
I
it's
just want, I've been
fully-
misinformed before, so I wanna make
No,
sure I know.
that's true. We're the
that-
only one that
okay.
offers a fully integrated system.
Why would you need the appraisal?
Well, it's all having your information, that'll help generate that information, it'll be tied to the GIS to make it to the public.
Well, there are set cost manuals based on area and for calculating replacement cost new of a structure or building cost new.
Like right now, I put everything in Excel spreadsheets, all the
Yeah.
sales data, and then I analyze it,
Okay.
and kinda created my own coding system.
Yeah, well,
But
let's
this
say-
would,
you wouldn't need to. You
no,
could
this would do it for
You
me.
could create neighborhood factors, and neighborhoods in CAMA are a little different than the neighborhoods we grew up with. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood, and it's not a CAMA neighborhood, but CAMA neighborhoods are like structure types, like
Like Lindsay,
construction age.
like Lindsay subdivision all have the same 1954 to
Right.
58 house.
Yeah, so,
like a
so
100
that would be a CAMA neighborhood, so you try to get CAMA neighborhoods with like structure types, like construction types, similar age and condition, so you can factor those values based on current market conditions, so you take a sales ratio studies and you can apply those factors to each of the CAMA neighborhoods. So you can adjust your appraisal values and then bring them in as assessed values. So the front end work is all done based on an appraisal. And having a good cost manual for commercial and industrial properties like Marshall and Swift helps overall with appeals and complaints, particularly when it gets to the property tax appeal board. Cause you have something that you can really substantiate the value that you placed on that parcel.
We haven't had real issues.
Do you
since
have,
I've
do you
been
have
here.
sketches on your property record cards?
Not saying they're accurate, but we got them.
So CAMA, that's what we're talking about, I'm kinda skipping around how I normally go. Do you have any questions on inquiry? Cause it's a pretty powerful thing. Let me finish up inquiry just on one thing, just to. So I went through the parcel, I'm gonna close it. I can search by combination of any of these tabs too, so if I wanna look for Harris, that has an owner occupied. I can search by that way too,
So
so
if they're
can.
getting multiple exemptions, we can.
We have an exception report for multiple exemptions by parcel.
Let me ask you this, which you already talked about. What if you wanna see who has all senior freezes in your county? Is that an option?
Yeah, you can do an exemption search.
So that mean,
But
right now,
one
we can't
of
look
the
at that,
things,
right?
one of the things that we do though, we don't make that available for the public
Right.
online.
But
Cause
for
we don't
us,
want people out there data mining and sending stuff to senior citizens.
like us, if we
We turn
want,
that off.
if we want to verify that, you know, that we know that their child's not living in the house and the senior, you know, their parents have passed away, we could run a report to see.
Yeah, that's an exception report. So right now, I'm in inquiry. This county has 70-some thousand parcels. And I'm gonna look for everybody that has a senior citizen exemption. So I can search for this in
Does
just a
it break
query.
those senior citizens exemptions down, or is it just,
It just tells all the parcels, so I have 4,700 parcels that I just searched for that quickly.
Is there any way to break that down to their last name out of those parcels, or is that?
Sure.
So if you wanna take it. and
So
say,
if I wanted to look at, well, let's use Harris, I gotta spell.
Let's say out of that 4,700, instead of having the parcel number and all that information, can you have their last name also attached?
Sure. So I just use the last name of Harris for that same criteria. Harris with a senior citizen exemption. Hit the detail button and here's Harris with the senior citizen. So I go through, it all changes, so. Yeah, there's a name record attached. There's a name record attached to every parcel. So, and everything that we do is parcel based. So even when we accumulate value for tax bill calculation, it accumulates at the parcel level.
Let me ask you this one, Gary and I was talking about the other day. Sometimes you get a property and with all the exemptions, actually their property bill could be zero, which seems unbelievable.
Sure.
Is there a way, is there a way to track that? Can you
Yeah,
type it
we
in?
have zero bill print capability for the treasurer, so if after the reduction of all the tax bills.
And we can see who all those are, and we
Yep.
can verify that should be
Yep.
right.
When we create the bill file, we'll know from an exception report for the treasurer that you have a zero bill, do you wanna print them or not?
I mean, we like to print them because I think whether it's a zero bill or a
Yeah,
$2,000
some people still want that
bill, I
tax
would
bill.
want that bill in my hand to show, hey, in 2010, this is a bill, so.
Yeah, we give
I
you
mean,
the
I would-
option to print and mail zero tax bills.
How many do you think we have? Is there lots?
No, I mean, no,
100?
yeah, there's probably more than 100,
More than 100?
probably less than 500, but.
Okay. See, cause now I don't think we have the capability to do that, do we?
We may, I just don't know how to.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
Do you know how, I mean, I don't know.
yeah,
I was
like I
just-
said, their computer does way more than, you're trained to do this, this, and this, so if you
Yeah.
want something out of the ordinary, you call Robin and she's like, sure, here it is.
One of the other things too is we'll
Or
deliver
Pat
a
or
full set
Dave.
of instruction manuals and we maintain them online. Do I have internet access in this building or not? Wireless?
Probably, see what it says and I'll put in a passcode, cause
Well, I can use my phone, it doesn't matter.
if you come up with one that says assessor, it's called Jason, the commissioner is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
your
Let's hear
own, get your
They
own
come in.
Wi-Fi out of your budget.
Like on Big Bang Theory, they always change the password to Penny is a mooch or.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do,
Yeah, a lot of people like that show. I haven't watched it.
Oh, God, it's hysterical.
There's people I know that's addicted to it.
That's not hard to get there.
Gerald, he's into the zombie show. What's it called? The
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Dead.
Oh,
What you're
no.
into, Gerald?
Jane
I have
is
watched
in my
it one
office.
time.
Yeah. No.
Oh, Lori thinks it's something else, man.
Oh, she loves that
So
show.
does
Can't do
Jane,
without it.
yeah. My son and his girlfriend are that way too.
The Bachelor and The Walking Dead is what Gerald watches every night.
Shark Tank, I like it.
Shark Tank?
Yeah.
it disconnected my.
HGTV all the way.
That's
all
mostly
my
what I
wife
watch
watches.
anymore.
I keep asking when she's gonna follow through with some of those ideas. I see her watching 24/7.
Television?
Yeah, she She watches that HGTV all the time.
Oh, I created a monster in my house. I got my wife an iPad. And since I live on these things all day, I have an iPhone, iPad, and computer, and she is a Facebook junkie. Oh my God. So I'll get home and ask her, hey, how things going on Facebook today? So it's, so this is, well, I talked about our support, and we actually track everything that you guys do.
I just don't even hardly check it anymore.
So we have a thing called issue track, so when you call in, see it's online support. So I can tell who's called in and what the response is, so I just put in notes yesterday for where I was training yesterday. So if you call in and you have a question or problem, they're creating an issue number. So we can track that you called in and also our response back to you. So we can't say, I never got your call. And if we hear that, we're gonna have a meeting with that employee because that's just not how we do business. So, but part of what we have, and this is our online tools, is a full set of instructions that are available. So we'll deliver a full set of instructions when should we get your business. But any updates after that, we make them available online, so we're not reprinting these manuals every year that the legislature decides to make a change. So just as an example, in tax calculation, we give a full set of instructions on how to use each part of the system. Same with billing and collection. Same with assessment. So,
How would, Juanita's the county clerk and Dana's the treasurer, how does your system help them? They would be ones that also is a part of it, obviously Gary's heavily involved, but they would probably want to know how it would make their job better, more efficient. What would make it better for them?
well, the efficiencies of the calculation process, I came from the clerk's office. I spent 30 years in the county clerk's office. Before that, all of the unit information is stored in one place. So my background is in assessment, because I used to balance all the board of review books, tax rate calculation and redemption, and billing and collection. So I came from Winnebago County, which is a fairly large county in the state. So the way that we've created the district structure for each of the districts and the funds that are attached make rate calculation real simple. The county that I was with had over 110,000 parcels. It took 18 minutes to calculate the tax rates. And because we're on the same database, the value accumulation process took maybe 5 minutes to accumulate the value for all the counties. We keep track of all the PTEL formulas, all that's right in the system, and the reports.
What about bonds?
Bonds, you'll love bonds. I'm gonna change to a different database if you don't mind. Bonds we've embedded within the system.
Don't bonds change from year to year?
Yes, they
Mhm,
can.
they do,
And
yes.
that's
So what does she
That's
have to
why.
do, communicate that with you, and then you
Nope.
change it, or how does it
No,
work?
we provided you the tools to do all of your own work. So our philosophy is that we're gonna create the system of the most efficient way possible, but if you have a problem, you can contact us at any time. Bonds, we've developed the full bond schedule. So bonds are also within the system. Obviously, it depends on if they've created it. That was a problem with the phone. So, here's the bond schedule for this district. It's a county, so it's they bill for a self-insurance. So the bond schedules are fully built within the system. So then each year that you roll to the next clerk year, the first levy line that populates is the bond. So that's one thing you never have to re-enter again. You don't have to get out your bond file every year and take it from the bond ordinance and put that schedule in. You built the schedule one time. If there's an abatement amount, you can see for this year, 2009, they abated the amount. Put the amount in the abatement, it automatically recalculates the residual amount to levy. You can also keep track of principal and interest for the companies that do statements of overlapping and underlying debt. We have value, district-to-district cross-value reports that help those bond consultants do those reports, so. And since the same this fund information over here, the fund codes, they're all from the Department of Revenue 250 series abstract codes. So the same fund code information is there throughout the system for calculation and for billing and collection. The system automatically will balance your 250 series abstract. That beginning information is available for the treasurer for the 255 TA. So that's, having a shared database makes those reports and abstracting much easier. All of the notices required that you do, let me show you the PTEL worksheet just for the clerk. So the full formula of the PTEL worksheet is here, including any annexation, detachment. I'm gonna get back to it here that they actually have data. So we have the ability to send these out to the taxing districts as an option. You can say, yeah, I'm gonna put all these dates here and send these out to the districts. Do they agree with the rate? Are they changing the rate? And then you can actually tell them, I want this back by X date. Do you have
How do you do that now?
Tiffany-
How does it work? I don't know.
do you have TIF?
I'm gonna be totally honest,
That's all.
I
There's
don't
also
know.
TIF involved.
It's all in John's head.
Do you have
Yeah.
TIF and enterprise zone?
Yes.
Do they overlap? Do they have parcels that overlap?
I don't think
You
they
can't, you can't get both. Is that what
That's
you
the
mean?
same spot.
Yeah, because they can't overlap.
Right.
So
Cause,
do you have
'cause
part-
one's an abatement and one is, you get
Yeah,
extra
well,
taxes.
welcome to Illinois. You can have it. And
You
then we
can?
just need to know the rules of which comes
They,
first.
but they don't, I don't think they allow it.
You don't?
I
Here?
don't think. No, you can't have, you can either have TIF or enterprise zone, but you can't have both, is how I understand.
On the same parcels.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, because tip, up in the northwest part of the state, where Macomb is, McDonough County, they have some odd rules because they have both overlapping and TIF district. And their enterprise zone abates first and reduces the TIF. The rest of the state is the TIF reduces the enterprise zone. So the TIF comes first, the increment always comes first.
Huh.
But up there, it's a little different, because they had a different appellate ruling that said, oh no, in this appellate district, it's gonna work this way. So, it's one of those odd things. We've made the system flexible enough that you can change it on a code setting to allow EZ to reduce TIF or TIF reduce the EZ. So you have TIF and enterprise on both. When the clerk is using an estimated value for rate calculation, well, this one doesn't have it because it's not an overlapping value. We have the ability to track whether or not the value used is an actual or an estimated value. And if you use an estimated value for rate calculation, when you get the actual value for extension purposes, we can recalculate that year of tax as if you used the actual value and create the adjusting entry for the following year. So it makes it a lot easier for recalculating any prior year adjustment. We've done that as an automatic process. We automatically, who does annexations and detachments here? Tax code changes
I guess our office does.
at the parcel
but-
level,
Yeah,
okay?
but that, I think we've had some confusion in the past on that, cause and it can get confusing.
Well, we track all of that. Any change made to the data, we track.
I know we've had an error before in the past where we entered the wrong code.
Yeah, and as part of the rate calculation process, because you're P-TEL, we keep track of all the annexation disconnection value at the parcel level and accumulate that for the P-TEL formula. And there's a list of all the parcels, so if you have a discrepancy, you can move one in or out, or ignore it.
So occasionally we have somebody come in, like a school district, and says, okay, we're trying to figure out what we can levy for next year.
Estimated EAV reports?
You got that available so that we can, that'll have their tax codes so that they can get an
The
idea.
estimated EAV report is available both in the assessor side and in the clerk application, so you can run an estimated EAV report, but just remember, exemptions are the big white elephant in that.
Right.
If there's a change in the exemption amount or where it's calculated, and you can pick what level in the system you want the estimated value to report. So if you're at TA level or SA level or SE level, you
What's
can
all that
actually.
mean? I mean, that means nothing.
Because these are levels in the system.
Like I'm in another country when he's talking this stuff. What's a TASA, SC?
Township assessors.
We don't have township or commission.
Your
down here.
commission, so
So-
that wouldn't apply to you, but that's just assessment levels in the system, so.
Okay.
We could take a snapshot of the value in the system as wherever level the assessor is in. And you could do prior year and compare it to current year too, so you can see any valuation increases or decreases.
Because it'll tell you what, you know, based on my reassessments, it'll show a declining market, it'll show you all that.
Well, you can do a side-by-side comparison.
Basically, you're just giving him a estimated guess.
Yes, right, because
It's not gonna
sometimes
be precise, but it's gonna be
they're trying to figure out what they can levy, and
Right.
of course, clerk's office, P-TEL will restrict them, so it doesn't, you know.
If they can,
Well, they're working on their budgeting process more than likely, correct?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, right.
that's what they're doing, they're trying to do budgets and levies. And they're looking at how much money they can estimate from the existing EAV. And what's CPI this year, 1.4,
No,
Next
next
year-
year it's 0.8.
0.8?
I know that consumer price index.
Yeah. So CPI is,
Talk about some other-
it's a code
know
setting
that.
It's
in
1.4,
here.
maybe it is 1.4,
I
it
use
sounds
that
about
on
right.
rental sometimes.
Yeah, so, one of the other things that we do is all the code settings, and this sets all of your overlapping counties, so once it's built, it's built. You asked about efficiencies, how many operating railroads do you have in this county? 2? We have created a billing system that you'll send out 2 railroad bills for this county, 1 for each operating railroad. So it eliminates all those little bills that you've been mailing for the railroads. The railroads love it because they get 1 tax bill. And we built it from the certification by the Department of Revenue to the county clerk, so
I may
that's.
have misspoke. These girls may know more about it because you may have small rails. I don't know.
No, I think we have, Burlington Northern?
And ICC, but the plants don't they don't have a small rail company or anything.
UP delivers to Cook Cover.
Yeah, so every operating railroad in the county gets a certified assessment from the Department of Revenue. So we create a bill based on that certification from Revenue, and it's used as part of the balancing process for the clerk. So,
One of them gets a stack and we get them back.
yeah,
Agree.
so just as an example, here's from the railroad certification in this county. Illinois Central doesn't have a very large presence, but you get those values from Revenue every year, and we just enter them right here. So that's something that's shared between them. One of the other things for tax buyers, subsequent payments. We've created a batch process for the treasurer. So if let's pick on Barrett Rockman, because he's in jail. So if Barrett came in and wanted to pay all of his subsequent taxes under Sabre, you could search by Sabre in a sub-batch, pay everything, that batch becomes available for the clerk in redemption, and you post it, so you don't have all the manual re-entry of all those subsequent tax
So
payments.
when
We
she
have more
puts,
fun
in
with
other words,
Gupta, don't we?
yeah, so in other words, when she puts the sub taxes in, we don't have to re-enter them in
No,
my
you don't.
office.
It
transfers
makes it
over.
available
Love that.
immediately. It makes it available immediately in the redemption
All
system.
right.
One of the other things that
Cause
we've
right now, what
automated,
y'all are double working on.
We're double, yeah.
well, then the tax buyer brings a handwritten or a copy of a receipt, brings it to the clerk and she has to enter it.
Yeah.
Road and bridge transfer, we've automated that whole process on how the road and bridge transfer amounts from your road districts to the municipalities work too. Right now, I know in your existing system, it's a manual calculation. We've automated the full process. So just in the amount of manual time alone in those three areas, we've cut down a lot of work that you had to re-enter. One thing about all the entries that are made in either the judgment book, collector book, or assessor book, you can reprint it at any time. So if you wanted a current view of the redemption book or collector book, you can reprint it. So that's, one of the things we do is, because these reports are available, it'll save you on printing costs that you normally incur through your existing vendor. You can print everything in-house. The only thing you can print tax bills in-house too.
Yeah, we've always been able to do that, it just, I don't know what treasure it even got off where, Manatron was printing them for us, or Thomson Reuters.
Yeah, they do that a lot. But same with the collector book, the assessor book, and any of the judgment books, that you can reprint them all in here. And once again, it's just a line work setup for us. And obviously the limitation would be the hardware here. I don't know what kind of printers you use.
Laser,
Yeah, they're
HPs.
HPs.
Yeah, but what model determines the size of paper you can use?
Well, ours are all,
8.5 by 11
8.5 by
and
11,
legal.
yeah.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
then it's not an issue.
And all of y'all can be in this system at the same time.
Yep, we have no problem with that. I wanted to show you.
Well, like I said, the thing that's most important to me is real-time information. And like I said, sometimes that change I make at my level doesn't get to the rest of it until later on.
Yeah, if you make a name change, it's available immediately. The minute you hit save, it's available, it's in the system.
and that's even gonna be on the treasurer's side.
Same thing. Well, there's one exception with your work though, because until a batch is actually posted and balanced, it'll show payment in progress until you post a batch. So it'll still give information out there that the payment is, pardon me?
Nothing, sorry.
I didn't hear you.
I said music to my ears about the posting and batching and processing
Yeah.
and,
So we make that, it'll show that if someone were to do an inquiry either in the counter or on the web, it'll still show the payments in progress so that you've received some kind of payment, it just hasn't been posted. And some of them hold those batches open closer to tax sale because they're afraid of NSF checks. Who does the tax buyer maintenance for your tax sale?
I do.
Okay, we've split that up. You can make it available in either the clerk or the treasurer. It doesn't matter to us because it's controlled through a security component.
Jeff, I hear on the radio you're in charge of the money, so
So,
are you gonna ask about?
you've heard me talk about security. We would review with each of the office holders exactly how they want the system set. Which employees have access to which part of the system. So and that's what controls overall access to the system. So it's pretty,
And anytime you can print out anyone's making changes to.
oh yeah, we have a full audit trail report built into the system. It was designed primarily for the assessor, but any name that's in system maintenance, we can do an audit trail report on anything they've done.
You have a name and a timestamp.
Last change date, login by username. Everything is date time stamped. Some of it's visible, some of it we display on the system, others it's in the data column itself. So if I look back here at the assessor, yeah, doesn't like Harris X. So the assessment record has its own date of assessment, who changed it the last date. Every record in the system has one of those, including calculation when you started the process, any change made at the district level, and obviously in collection. So we can check by who entered the batch, who created the batch, and when the payment was taken. Each of the batches has its own batch proof listing, so we can identify the type of payment made by check, by cash. You can split the payments, you can take mobile home payments at the same time you're taking real estate payments. So we've created a lot of flexibility in the payments. So most of the tabs have their own last change date too, so it's not just the overview. Any set of data here has its own last change date login.
Is this system remote, or like if Gary wanted to work on this at home?
Yeah, we have VPN connection availability. It's a connection type.
What man's gotta work 24/7, what are you talking about?
It's a connection
Don't
type
worry.
back to
You
the
don't have to
server.
come to the courthouse on the weekend.
Okay.
It's a connection type
Yeah,
back to the
start charging
server,
them
remote desktop or VPN. It's a direct connection to the server. It's controlled through a lot of security to make sure people don't get into the server. So, but he can VPN.
Well, Dana asked me to ask about cost.
I don't know how to do cost. I don't do that. I'm real honest with you. That's why I took all the notes. I'll send it on to somebody else and they'll give you an estimate.
You mean we sat here through lunch and you're not gonna?
Well, I could have bought lunch. I mean, it's only noon.
So you don't know how much your program costs?
Well, it just depends
I don't do the
on-
pricing. I don't do the pricing. Because
More
we
than
can't-
likely, it's on partials and what all you want done.
Yeah, it's based on, here's a number of parcels. Cam, obviously, what cost manual are you gonna use? 2010 Illinois?
No.
You wanna use full Marshall and Swift?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a difference.
But-
I'll need the last page of your last abstract, because Marshall and Swift pricing is based on parcel
I mean,
count.
again, I would prefer it, but prefer and get are two different things. So if there's
Well,
a
I'll give
difference
you
in
both
cost, yeah.
options, but I'll still need, because if you're gonna use it for residential, commercial, and industrial, I need the improved parcel count for each of those classes.
Okay.
You can provide that.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is give me a copy of the abstract summary page, your last
I've got it
abstract.
down there.
Okay, and then I'll,
What
yeah,
kind
I
of-
don't do the pricing, I used to do it, but
What kind of, any kind of bells and whistles the clerk or the treasurer needs to ask for that determines the price?
barcode readers, do you use a barcode reader? And you have them now? That's the only thing.
Nothing for the clerk?
No, there's no special equipment other than a barcode reader for the treasurer. And sketching tools. How many workstations for Apex?
I don't. I have my own Apex. I have it. I
It
don't
has to
have it
live in the system.
Yeah, no, I don't have I'd have to get the right to it.
We could transfer it, but how many workstations?
1, 2, 3, well, really and truly just 2. I'm not gonna let anybody else do sketches. Just 2. Myself and Butch are leaving it too.
I'm gonna give you on Marshall and Swift and Kama cost, the ability to do the Illinois manual for everything, Illinois just for residential, and then, Illinois with residential, and then Marshall and Swift for commercial and industrial, and leave farm in Illinois. That way you could do the Bruce Harris farmland import,
Right.
and then calculate your farmland
And that,
values.
yes, that's easy, so yes.
So we, like I said, we work with Harris as far as their farmland acres are. We've developed a farmland import, and then we just calculate that value.
Of course, we've got all these changes coming up with farmland.
Yeah, you guys do in 2015.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Changes the lowest PI productivity index per soil type in the state. So some of the lower PIs are going out of,
And they're not gonna be happy. They're gonna go up.
hell, so those farmers that had a lower productivity index by soil type, the lowest one is being eliminated, so the farmland values are gonna go up.
Farmland taxes are going to go up, farmland values are probably gonna go down.
Although around.
according to the PI,
Yeah.
according to how the state,
Yeah,
not to real.
it's not gonna be pleasant done in this part of the
No.
state. And in fact, pretty much south of I-80, the impact is gonna be, over in Pike and those counties, it's gonna be pretty severe. So they're, hopefully the Farm Bureau is gonna be running some interference out there, but
Already on it.
good,
So-
good.
I wouldn't have brought this up, but you all asked, how are we gonna handle that as a P-tail county?
I'm not sure how that works, because
We're
I'm
limited.
not, you're still limited, but I guess what it's gonna do is redistribute the burden.
It doesn't change it, cause it's not considered new property as P-TEL.
It's just gonna push that burden onto the farmer,
Yeah,
and make your
just-
taxes higher, and then,
It's just a value increase, cause it's not considered new property for P-TEL.
It's not,
purposes.
it's more of a,
It's a method,
it's not like it, P-tail more goes towards what we are levying. This is more going towards
value.
assessment.
Yeah, but one of the P-TEL components is how you're capturing that new value. Is it new construction? How is that new value arrived at? But since this is just a change in the assessment methodology, it doesn't fit that definition of new property. But because of the percentage for CPI, your districts may not have access to that full value either. That's just.
from a levy standpoint,
From an extension standpoint.
levy and extension, but from a taxpayer standpoint that's paying property taxes, it just means the burden's being distributed out, and they're picking up the cost, and the regular, the
And as you
taxpayers.
guys all well know, just because you became a cap county doesn't mean that an individual tax bill stays the same.
No.
I experienced that firsthand, when we became a cap county, because the publicity at the time was it gave the impression that it froze
your
property
taxes.
taxes. And you see some of those bills come in and people calling us, I thought it froze my property tax. Well, no, it's a limitation on the district.
They can ask for it.
Not on the person.
No, and it's each district. It's, so if you have 8 districts on the tax bill, each one of them went up, and even though your value did not change, that rate changed, and bang. One of the things with P-TEL, it's also gonna be looked at in the legislature this year is, there are proposals to freeze property taxes. And how they do that, what mechanism they use, is just something to be aware of. They're looking at exemption administration and how to do something meaningful with property tax reform. So how they do the freeze, we're not sure. One of the rumors is, make everybody in the state a cap county and change the rules on P-TEL. There are already a couple of bills in dealing with that. And the other is have everybody have a 0% for CPI. They don't care, it's just 0. You get no increase over the prior year, other than normal assessment changes. So it's something that I've done for the company for years. I track all the legislation that goes through as it relates to all of the offices. I was part of the committee that helped rewrite the property tax code in 1991, so this has been my whole life. It's sad, isn't it?
Well,
We took the Revenue Act of 1939 and made it into the property tax code that you see today. Took 30 of us over a year to do it. So we, as a company, have that level of experience in what your day-to-day operations are. I could spend all day doing this at each office. Like I said, usually for a demo for me takes all day, cause we go through each of the various offices, so, and I know you guys are running short on time, so.
Do y'all have any
Well, I mean,
questions?
you're more than welcome to stay around and go from office to office if you want. but
Well,
that's
it's
up to
entirely
you.
up to you.
Yeah, if y'all wanted to, I have somewhere to go, but
Sure.
I'm just a commissioner, they're the ones that run their offices, so. They can,
Like I said,
you're welcome
it's
to.
entirely up to you guys what you wanna
Gary
do.
and stuff.
I can come back, I can stay, it doesn't matter to me.
If you want him to go
And
grab
that's-
some lunch, he can come back and talk to each of your offices businesses, if that would try to help
it'd be
explain some.
That may give you all time to
If you have any, yeah, that's,
Questions?
gives
That's up to
time for
you,
questions.
you know.
devour
I'm
some of
okay.
this
I mean,
info. You may have questions.
I'm
I know
okay.
you got questions. I
I'm
don't.
familiar
have.
with DevNet and I'm familiar with FICA and FICA, what all these programs can do. Like I said, my big thing is real-time information.
Yep, it's real time.
Yeah, I think I'm,
And getting, and just point and click instead of escape
It is.
F9, F10, it just drives me nuts.
What if,
I mean, it's just me, it's
oh,
me.
oh, no, I'm not,
if you,
I agree.
if you can take a break and they'll be back maybe after, 1:15.
I'm down to 2 people this
Yeah, it's
afternoon.
not necessary, I got.
I mean, Dana can, you
I
want
mean,
I saw
think
you
I can-
smile. Do you know Jill Furco and Kendall? Here's the badge types, just so you know.
Polk County, you guys are in Polk County,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're right next door. We're
I was
be
gonna
in
plan a
Union.
trip there anyway for some
And then,
other
is
stuff.
it Tammy that you're doing one in it now? Is it Union?
Tammy,
Tammy,
Tammy
Robinson.
Robinson.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're
you're
gonna
doing-
capture their data in, end of March. Cause that's when she's gonna be closed with the board review. There are 2 perfect times to do a conversion. Right before the board of review goes into session, because we have the 280 abstract to balance to. And then after board of review completes its work, because then we have the 260 to balance to, or 280. So we have a set of numbers that we balance the system to, and it has to balance, because that's the number the clerk uses for extension. So we balance the system at the point of conversion. One of the other things that our approach to data conversion is that we not only convert the data, but we do data cleansing as well. So we see all this orphan stuff. If there's stuff that's out there, we're gonna contact you and say, hey, what does this do? And can we clean it up? We're doing a conversion in Mason County right now. It's a homegrown system, and the way they created some tax billing for leaseholds, which affects the assessor and the clerk and the treasurer. They had 128 different leaseholds on one parcel, so they created 128 different tax bills for one parcel. And it is just, so that's the things that we see in their data, and so we're working with them on how to clean it up. That's just what we do.
How can they possibly have that much manpower to do something like that?
It was how their
Their tech
IT
was-
department
The tech
created
guy
these.
was sharp.
Yeah.
He was a sharp guy.
He used an Access database, and, Rob was pretty
Hi,
good,
Daryl.
but.
I
He's
know
retired.
him personally,
Yeah,
he's
retired.
a sharp guy, he set up a lot in there.
Yeah, so,
If something happened to him, they were
they were
screwed.
done.
Are we,
You're adjourned.
yeah. I'll second it.
Did you return this
There it
meeting
is.
earlier? Do you have any questions? I can show you
No,
Collaborative
I really-
directly, so.
If we
You're gonna
get
go see
that far,
Shelley?
well, yeah, I was gonna do that. And
Because
Robbie
the
Moore
batches
and-
are typical batch payments. You can enter it by parcel, you can enter it, I can scan it in. You can set the codes to take second installment, you scan 2, it'll take both payments. You can set it to just 1. Do you take partial payments here?
We don't, no.
Oh, good. Cause it makes balancing a lot easier without partial payments.
Well, I mean, that's something we're gonna look into, you know, if we were to change the system. I
The
would
monthly
like
payment
that
plan is different than
confidence.
partial payments. I mean, partial payment at the parcel level, so you have a residual tax due. For us, it's just a code setting, turn it on or off, yes or no, it's real simple.
So what you're saying, partial payment and monthly, or whatever?
Monthly payment plan are 2 different
Okay,
things,
monthly's fine.
yeah.
Partial.
Well, I mean,
We do- I mean, we
What's a
do
par-
both.
What's
I
an
was gonna say,
example for partial?
Okay, I'll tell you
Like if the
that,
payment's due in September and October, they pay a half in September, and it rolls on over to the October.
some counties, you see up here, this example, that the amount due is, 4,197.
Yeah,
They'll come in and the taxpayer has 2,000, they'll take the 2,000
right.
and then have
well,
that,
that's what I
that's a
would like
partial
to be able
payment.
to do.
Yeah, it's not a problem for us, it's just a code setting, do you take partial payments, yes or no?
Okay.
And same with the monthly payment plan, let me launch Effingham's database, and then you can see how the payment plan is set up.
How do most of the counties in here, do they bill 1 month after the other, or 6 months apart, or,
With the payment plan, the monthly payment plan,
well, just your due dates?
you set your own due dates.
Well, I'm
We
just
don't.
asking the counties that you deal with, how do they do theirs? A lot of them do, we've always done like August and September, October, November,
Yeah.
you know, something like that. We've got a month in between now, but like my dad, for instance, in Will County was like April, September.
May and September, cause they do their billing in, or June and September in Will.
Well, that's, we talked about not being able to collect before June, so. I
A
was
lot of
just
it depends
curious.
on where the assessment cycle is. So we've given you the ability to set your own due dates
My
based
goal is
on-
to get my end, border review and everything finalized by the middle of April.
Well,
That's
then
my goal.
Then it
Wouldn't it
takes about,
determine too when the state gets the multiplier down?
Yeah,
Because
and
like
so
one
he
year
sends
it
the
was
abstract
August
in.
before we got it.
yeah, he'll send
And then
the
that turn around and
abstract
put
in.
you all in a bind.
Exactly.
Right,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's no way you could do it in time.
No.
right.
Well,
Oh,
then you
no.
have to start doing it on estimated taxes or something.
You don't wanna do it.
No, you don't wanna do that.
No,
There's only
that's
one
what-
county in the state that does that, and that's Cook. That's a whole set of problems, but, I just wanted to show you the, what Steve has done, or, I didn't want a calculation, I took my eye off it. For the monthly payment plan, and set it up. So, like I said, it's already here, it's just an option for us, it's just, turning that feature on in the system, so.
Good now.
I think everything you can do for the taxpayers,
You're already late.
as high as they're getting, to be able to pay them monthly.
Hey, did you get your house back?
So, the payment